Now, let's understand something. Whenever you're behind your opponent and you're working for your strangles, it's natural to compare the movements of strangling without a gi and those of strangling with a gi. It's very important you understand that when we strangle with a gi versus without a gi, we reverse the sequence of events. I'm going to demonstrate this now, looking first at a no-gi strangulation situation. I'll just take my jacket off, and we'll look at the idea of strangulation without a gi first. Whenever I get behind an opponent and we're looking to strangle without the jacket, in our no-gi strangulation system, when we work behind our training partner, we place our foot across, and from a situation like this, we're always looking to get our leg over our opponent's arms first. We're looking to get the various grips that we favor, and from here my right leg goes over Mateus's shoulder, and from here traps his arm behind his body. And as a result, we're now in a good position to start working our body into a strangulation from here. You'll notice what happened. I set my leg over Mateus's arm first, and then I set my strangle hand second. There was a distinct order involved in this situation. Just move to the right, please. So the basic order when we worked without the gi was first we put our leg over our training partner's shoulder. We trapped the arm, and then with the arm trapped, we went to the second task of setting the strangle hand and going through into a successful strangulation. Okay? So that's the order of events in a no-gi scenario, where we put the leg over the shoulder first and we set the strangle hand second. That order is completely reversed when we strangle with a jacket. Now, we first set the strangle hand. That's our first concern. And however we choose to lock it up, only when the strangle hand is set do we focus now upon throwing a leg over our training partner's shoulder. And then we go into our strangle. So you see, there is a radical difference in order when we go from gi to no-gi strangles. In the no-gi situation, we're always looking to create a situation where we trap our opponent's arm first and we set the strangle second. In the standard situation where we're working with a jacket, the order reverses 180 degrees, and now we always focus on setting the strangle hand first and then throwing the leg over second. This is one reason why many people struggle to make the transition between gi and no-gi strangles, because the order of operations turns on its head. It's very, very important that you, if someone who wants to master the process of strangulation or the skill of strangulation, you must understand this. The standard operating procedure for my athletes in a no-gi scenario, trap the arm first, set the strangle hand second. The standard operating procedure in a gi situation, the exact opposite of that, set the strangle hand first and then throw the leg over the shoulder. Once you understand that the order of operations is diametrically opposed between most gi situations and most no-gi situations, then you're going to start having a lot more success. There's some other obvious differences between gi and no-gi strangles. Let's have a look at those now. In a no-gi situation, as I work behind my training partner, the instrument of strangulation is always going to be my wrist and inside forearm. So when I get behind an opponent and I have to penetrate with the wrist, then the elbow follows and the bicep and the inside forearm become the main mechanisms of strangulation as we go to work here. Okay, this changes dramatically when we work with a jacket, because now the main mechanism of strangulation is going to be the blade of the lapel. Okay, try to avoid using the flat. We always turn the blade down, and then from here, now this will be the main mechanism of strangulation. Okay, so instead of using the wrist, we're now using this thin, hard edge of the lapel. Now, that's a big advantage. When you compare these two instruments of strangulation, you'll see that one is vastly superior to the other. The wrist is big and clumsy and relatively wide in its circumference. As a result, when my training partner closes his chin down, it takes some strong work to try and get underneath my training partner's chin. Okay? Contrast the width of my wrist with the narrow cutting edge of a kimono. The lapel is not only extremely hard at the edge, but also very thin, rather like the edge of a knife. My wrist, by comparison, is thick and clumsy, rather like a club. Just as a knife will cut while a club will merely bash, you can use this thin, hard edge like a surgeon uses a scalpel. From here, we can go underneath any chin. Let's move here. You can see when the chin is down, it's difficult for my wrist to penetrate. But it's so easy for me to turn the lapel underneath and get beneath the line of my training partner's jaw. In addition, it's so easy for us to use wrist flip methods to go in. We can also just use a simple biting method to ensure that our index knuckle gets into the preferred strangulation position. And in this way, you can clearly see that the instrument of strangulation, the hard, thin edge of the lapel, is vastly superior to the thick and clumsy inside wrist, which is used in no-gi strangulation. These are important differences that we have to work with when we contrast gi strangulation versus no-gi strangulation.